Hey guys, it's Eddie the Magic Monk here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve any quadratic equation by completing the square. Now you're probably thinking, well, can't we just solve equations by using quadratic formula? But the problem with that is you have no idea where the quadratic formula comes from, whereas using completing the square, at least you are doing everything by just solid algebra and not relying on a formula. So before we get to completing the square, I just want to make sure you guys totally understand the formula a plus b squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Right, if you don't understand that formula, then it's hard for you to understand how to complete the square. So let's talk about where this formula comes from. Well, if we have a plus b squared, that means the same thing as a plus b times a plus b. And if we multiply it out by expanding, alright, a times a equals a squared, a times b equals ab, b times a equals ab again, b times b equals b squared. So then I can simplify that as a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, so if I give you instead of a and b, let's say I give you x plus 3 squared, you can simply expand it out to give you x squared plus 2ab, so 2 times x times 3 is 6x, alright, and 3 squared is 9. Okay, so let's do another example. Let's give you x plus 5 squared, and then you'll get x squared plus 2ab, so 2 times 5 times x is 10x, plus 5 squared is 25. Now, I want you guys to see a pattern after I do another one. So let's do another one. Let's do x minus 7 squared. Alright, so I have x squared minus 2ab, so 2 times 7 times x, so 14x, plus 7 times 7 is 49. Okay, so you can start to see a pattern. Now the pattern is this. The pattern is whatever is inside the bracket, so I'm going to highlight that with green. Whatever is inside the bracket is always half of the middle term. Okay, see this, whatever number is in the middle, right? If you half that, you will get the second number in the bracket. Alright, look at this number, 10. If you half that, you get 5. Look at this number, negative 14. If you halve that, you get negative 7. So whatever numbers in the middle, if you divide it by 2, you get the second number in the bracket. And then this number, if you square it, so 3 squared, you will get 9, right? If you square it, you get the number on the end. Okay, so what is that? Well, what's the point in doing that? Well, now I can use that to help us factorize. Okay, so if I give you, for example, x squared somehow x squared plus 12x plus 36. Right, how do I factorize this? Well, the first term is going to be x, and the second term is going to be half of 12, which is going to be 6 squared. So we have successfully factorized it. Okay, if you still don't understand how I'm factorizing it, you need to do some tutorials for expanding and factorizing. Okay, now let's do another activity before I get to this. So let's say I give you guys x squared plus let's do 16x, and I just have this term missing. And let's say I want to put this all back into one bracket squared. Okay, now I have x plus something here. Now I want you guys to fill in the gaps. Okay, what can I put in this square? Actually, I'm not going to use square because that might confuse people. What can I put in this diamond? And what can I put in this square so that this equation holds? So what I can do is I can simply half the number 16. Okay, half the number 16, so divided by 2, and I will get 8. And then if I square 8, I will get, alright, square 8, I will get 64. And then this equation holds. X plus 8 times x plus 8 equals, x times x is x squared, x times 8 equals 8x, 8 times x is 8x, 8 times 8 is 64, equals x squared plus 16x plus 64. So it works. Right, let's do another one. X squared plus 20x, and I'm gonna give you guys a box to fill in, and again x plus, and let's put another box here for you to fill in, x plus something squared. Okay, how do I fill that in? Well, let's half the number 20, so I get 10. Let's square the number 10, so I get 100. Done. Okay, so what is the point of showing you all that? Well, now we can complete the square. So let's give you guys an equation to solve. Let's do x squared plus, let's use something we've used previously, 20x. But instead of giving you plus 100, okay, I'm going to give you plus 110 equals 0. So you can't simply just put all this back into x plus 10 squared, right? Why is that? Because instead of 100, I've given you 110. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the 110 to the other side. I'm going to go x squared plus 20x. I'm going to move the 110 to the other side, so it becomes negative 110. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 100 on both sides. Okay, I'm going to add 100 to both sides. I'm going to teach you guys how to get this 100 later on. A quicker way of getting this 100 later on. But just watch what I do after I add 100. Well, the right hand side is now equal to negative 100 plus 100, so that's negative 10. Right, and the left hand side can now be factorized using what I've just taught you. So the left hand side can now be factorized into x plus 10 squared. Alright, and now we can simply solve this equation by square rooting both sides. So x plus 10 equals the square root of negative 10, and then x equals negative 10 plus or minus square root of negative 10, right? Because whenever you square root a number, you get plus or minus. So I can put plus or minus in front of the square root sign, and then I move the 10 over, so it becomes negative 10. Okay, so that's the answer. You can't simplify anymore because you can't square root a negative number. So yeah, that's the answer. Now, how do I know to plus 100 on both sides? Right? what you do to get this number that you can add on both sides is you would halve the middle term and then square it. Okay, so whatever the middle term is, you're going to halve it and then you're going to square it, and then that's how you get 100. So what's 20 divided by 2 is 10, squared is 100. So that's how you get the third term. So let's try it again. Let's do something we've learned before as well. Let's do x squared plus 16x plus 64. X squared plus 16x. Now instead of 64, I'm gonna give you 52. Okay, so the first thing you do is you move the 52 to the other side, which gives you negative 52. And now you're going to add something to both sides. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to get the middle term, which is 16. You're going to halve that. You're going to halve the middle term, and then you're going to square it. Okay, so what's that going to give you? X squared plus 16x plus 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 times 8 is 64 equals. Now, because we added this on the left, we have to add it on the right to keep the equation balanced. So to keep the equation balanced, we got to add it to both sides. So it's minus 52 plus 64. So the right hand side is now equal to 64 minus 52 is 12. Now what's the left hand side equal to? Well, if you guys remember, we can put it back into brackets now. We can put it back into x plus, and whatever the middle term is, we halve that. That's what we put in the bracket, squared. X plus 8 squared equals 12. Now how do we solve this? Well, let's square root both sides. So x plus 8 equals square root of 12. Right, if we square root both sides, and then x equals negative 8 plus or minus square root of 12. And that's the answer. Okay, so one last problem. What happens if I put a number in front of x squared? So I'm going to make it a lot more complicated now. I'm just going to do a random thing. 3x squared plus, let's do 6x plus just a random thing, 15. Let's make it harder. Let's do 11 equals 0. Just a random quadratic equation. I don't know if there's going to be a real solution, but anyway, so there's a number in front of x squared, and to get rid of that so we can continue, we will divide everything by 3. Okay, so we're just going to divide everything by 3. Well, actually, it'll probably be better if we move the 11 over first. So 3x squared plus 6x equals negative 11. Divide everything by 3, so divided by 3, divided by 3, divided by 3. So I will get x squared plus 2x equals negative 11 over 3. And now we can simply continue as normal. So I can just go x squared plus 2x. Now what's half of this number squared? Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1 equals negative 11 over 3 plus 1 as well. Because we plus 1 on the left, we're going to plus 1 on the right. Now these three terms can be factorized into one bracket. So x plus 1 squared equals, alright, and then on the right hand side, 1 minus 11 over 3. So minus 11 over 3 plus 3 over 3, because 1 is equal to 3 over 3. So the right hand side will just be equal to 3 minus 11 is negative 8. So now what happens is I can square root both sides. So x plus 1 equals the square root of negative 8 over 3. So again, we can't type that in the calculator. So x equals negative 1 plus or minus square root of negative 8 over 3. And that is your final solution. Alright, you can't simplify anymore unless you know about imaginary numbers, which we won't talk about right now. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.